All right, let's drink a little of this. Let's welcome all my nice Go friends here and tell them we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We're not actually learning any Go. We're not going to be playing any Go. We're not going to be reviewing Go. Instead, we're going to review a Go league. And that's kind of a weird concept. But yeah, I think there's a lot of products. I'm going to call this a product if that makes sense. Products for Go out there. And, I think in general, the community is pretty welcoming of all content. All Go products, right, are valuable because they're just in the West. We have so few of them. Be it the things that the AGA is putting out with Michael Rebnin series and the AlphaGo series, or the Internet Go School with Dojang, or just the various English books that we get published or translated. I think the Go community in general is very thankful to have any resource, right? It's just all of them are great, and we want more. We're just hungry for more. But today, even in that cultural, we'll say gestalt, we have I think a responsibility maybe to look at some of these products and do fair reviews of them, so you know what is worth your time, what is worth your money. And I hope to make this into a longer series. But I think today I'll start with the Yunguseng Dojang, which is a pretty popular Internet Go school. It both has, we'll say, servers and teachers dedicated to American students or North American students, and as well as European students. And it's comprised of several parts. We should talk about here. So anyway, all that aside, I just use a lot of big fancy words. What I really mean is we're doing a review of Yunguseng. We're just going to do a review. And I was happy to play in Yunguseng for their fall 2018 season. No, wait, I wasn't. Sorry, winter 2019 season. They're now doing a spring season right now. But you can go to the website. It's Yunguseng, ayd.yunguseng.com. That's how you spell Yunguseng. This is really, as at least for the North American side of things, In-Sung Huang is sort of the spearheaded teacher of this. And he's not officially professional. He is professional strength. He plays in very competitive tournaments. I don't know if he actually has an AGA rating, but I think his European rating is something like 8 Dan. Anyway, very strong player, and he's accompanied by 2 other amateurs who occasionally help out with reviews or do lectures when he's not around, as well as handle, I think, more of the European side of things. So this is what the website looks like. You can just go here and browse it with me if you like. But I'll tell you what it's basically about. Each season is split up into seasons. He does a series of lectures, and these lectures are excellent. We can look at some of the lectures. Here's the season 23 lectures. And so again, this was this is the one I was in. Sorry, January, February, March. Each week he'll do highlights, mainly from the league games that are played. So your own game might be featured as a highlight. If he finds a cool Tesuji, or if you find a cool Tesuji or shape move or life and death problem, or just overall big board strategy, if it's something he thinks is particularly interesting, he'll throw it into this highlight. So that's kind of cool, just from the games that you're playing. But again, these lectures are in general excellent, and some I think are more excellent than others. Mainly the thing that I get from these lectures is that In-Sung is constantly studying latest new moves and trends among professionals and the robots. And so a lot of the lectures are things like this, right? Like AlphaGo 4-4 double approach patterns, which, he gets pretty far down into the nitty gritty. Certainly doesn't cover all the deep down variations. But it certainly gives you a lot of confidence. And here's the other thing. When you play, like each week, we're playing 1 or 2 games in the league. How do I get back? Let's just go back. Let's show you what the league is like. And again, you won't see my name up there because... hey, league. Oh, that's lectures. I have to click on league. How funny. You won't see my name in there because, again, I took a break from spring because I was getting busy with my own work. But you're set up into these little 6-group round robin things. And so you can see, like, here are most of the people who were in this A group are the people I was playing against last season as well. Brian Kirby's doing it this quarter, this season. I didn't know that. See, and it's cool because you have a lot of I have a lot of Go friends from the U.S. Go Congress and who end up playing in these leagues, and it's kind of fun to watch their games and see how they progress. But anyway, you get your own rating, your own Yunguseng rating. And there's a little round robin thing, and you're playing against this group of people, and at the end of each month there's a relegation and promotion. So what that means is the bottom two people move down a step in terms of the league, and the top two people move up, of course, except for the first two in the top league. They just stay there forever. And actually Brandon, I think I actually beat him in a tournament game this summer at the US Go Congress. So it's kind of cool to see him at the number one place right now in the top league. I mean, that's what you do every week, right? So you play your league game or two, you then watch the lectures, and I think partially here's one of the real benefits that wasn't obvious to me at the start when I first joined up for 3 months of this Go school or Go league, however you want to think of it, because everyone is sort of quasi studying the same material, i.e. these lectures, then you see a lot of these patterns immediately get played out in games, right? Whatever the hot topic for InSong is that week, you see the other players learn that as well, and they're all learning it with you at the same time. And so when you go on KGS or TaiGem or OGS and you just start playing against, we'll say, randos, you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get a bunch of crazy fighting games, and where there isn't really a dominant Joseki or culture or sequence Fuseki that everyone's playing and learning at the same time. In this case, you are. So for instance, if we go back and look at this lecture list, for really actually since this 4-4 lecture, where I just lose it, this one, which was, sort of at the beginning of, the very beginning actually of the last season, I just immediately saw this played out like in like at least every other game for the rest of the 3 months, which is amazing practice if you think about it, right? Like if you go to school and you, let's say your teacher gives you a lecture, and then she gives you some homework to take home and reinforce that lecture. Well, how often does that happen in Go where you might learn a Joseki or a technique, and then you go play a bunch of games? How often does that technique come up in your games? Well, sometimes you can kind of get it to force it to come out in the games, right? Especially if it's a special Joseki that you can sort of artificially create a situation that your opponent will want to approach you from the right direction and you can follow through. But that will only let you practice one side of that pattern, even if you can force it. And often your opponents never do what you want them to do anyway, so there's that whole thing. But because everyone is sort of watching these lectures and has the same thing on their minds, like I found it amazing that I watched this lecture and then immediately was able to apply that knowledge and practice that knowledge for the next few weeks, like in my league games. And so it was like I learned this lesson so much better and so much faster than many of the other lectures I've watched or many of the other Josekis I've learned. Whatever I've tried to learn and teach myself and Go, this way of learning for me just really worked and it really clicked. And so that was one of the more unseen big positives of learning Go and playing Go in this league kind of setting. And you can go back and watch all the old lectures. So I did watch maybe, a dozen of them over the course of the few months. And it's true, like if you join the league at some point, the other players around your play level will have grasps of other knowledge that is communal to this group that you won't have. But again, there's a lot of, influx of new and old players leaving and coming in. So, you're still going to get like good games against people who don't share the same culture, but just having that community, again, I can't stress this enough of how great that was to practice, right? Where you all learn something together and then you all go practice it together. You all show it off in your league games, which is great. All right. So in addition to, playing these, and I'll say I treated them fairly seriously, these league games. Then InSong or one of his compatriots will do reviews for each game that gets played. And they're about 15-minute reviews. And he starts each review very similarly with showing you like some of the big turning points of the game. That gives you the general game flow or the game context. And then we'll step through, most of the moves of the game and point out the biggest mistakes or problems or missed points. And many times during the reviews, right, he would find a move that I would just go, smack my forehead and go, of course, right. So he's certainly strong enough to and his other teachers here, really strong to be able to review these games quickly and efficiently, to the point where I was very satisfied, right? Like I got good reviews. I feel like, and often for me, because I took these games really seriously, I would also go put them into one of the robots afterward. And it was also just really exciting for me to watch the differences between what the humans valued versus what the robots, and they were often very different. I've done a previous lecture or two about this in my last dozen videos or so, just the human review versus the robot review. But because we're humans, the robot reviews are only so good, right? Like the robots don't really explain why or how something should work. They just show you, look, this move we think is good, and that's where having the human review is so much more valuable, right? Because there's a greater context, there's a greater story, there's a greater narrative that you should be thinking about, because that's how your brain works, right? You do not have the abilities of a multi-level deep learning neural network. That's just not quite how your brain works, at least how you feel like it works. Maybe it does work way deep down, but certainly not your impression of it. All right. So anyway, the basic what you get, right, for joining this league is you get to play, serious Go games each week online. This is all online. You get to watch a series of lectures and have your games reviewed each week, all as part of this larger community and training system. Occasionally there's homework. You will occasionally send out a series of problems at least once a month for you to also work on. That's mostly what you get. Well, what do you pay for it? And we can go to the pricing page. And for, I think, most people, it's going to be expensive, right? I think this is, for most people who are learning Go, kind of high. So I just signed up for a 3-month one season. I did pay for it. This was not a thing that was given to me or for review for the X Plus. I'm doing this review just because I did this thing, and I think this review is very valuable to the community. So I paid my $330, and at the end of the 3 months, I was pretty happy paying $330. Like I didn't think this price was unfair because I saw an improvement in my Go. I certainly had a much more confident sense about the board because InSong worked really hard to show us, the latest variations and some of the latest research that's coming out of AI and professional play. I found it very valuable, but I can see that over the course, if you do this, I think he tries to do about 3 seasons a year. Well, if you do, maybe you can get the discounted rates, but we'll say almost $1,000 a year. I can see that being a pretty huge burden. It's a pretty big chunk of change to invest in Go, especially if this is something you see as your hobby and you got into it because it's cheap, right? It's not a terribly expensive hobby. I can see that being somewhat prohibitive. Now, that being said, I think, there you go. If you are under 26 and you have to meet a bunch of other requirements, but they're not that hard to meet, although there is a cap for the under 26, this does become a little more reasonable. Right, where basically it's like a 30% discount, which is more reasonable. But yeah, I think this is a lot of money, but I know for me it was also worth it. And if I wasn't so busy, and again, I've got a 2-year-old and I'm directing 3 shows this month, and I have a day job, and I'm working on another super secret project, and still sort of doing some moonlight game design. I have too many things going on, basically, is all I'm trying to say. This would be, I would happily sign up for this again. And it's mainly based on the fact of the changes I saw in my own Go game playing that would motivate me to do this. So if you care about results, I'm saying this did get me results. For that matter, I also know I have had a bunch of friends who've gone through this and who have also seen results in their games. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his name, but Eric Fiveson, who's been in this for probably 2 years now, he won the 1Q, was it 1Q, 3Q? I don't know, some high-level Q division at the US Open one year. I want to say, actually, I think it was the 1Q division, whereas I think 4 years ago, I think he was 3Q, sort of like an average 3Q. So clearly, there are examples of success. And I think it depends on the type of person you are. Of course, like anything, it's kind of what you put into it versus what you get out of it. If you watch these lectures and you take your game seriously and you watch your reviews, and especially if you're reviewing your games along with a robot as well as, the human perspective, I do think you get a lot out of it. Like, it's possible to really get a lot out of it. All right, actually, one thing I want to show you. Let's get oops. Let's go over here, and I've just got to log into my email for a second, because actually there's one other thing you get is InSong also sends you a Go report every so often, and it's I think at the end of your first 3 months, right, is the first big checkpoint. Let me see if I can. So it shows you your overall season results. So I ended up 8 and 7. It gives you your overall rating and how it changed. But then the really interesting part is he tries to, number one, show you where your strengths are, which I think is really difficult to do, actually. I think, for me, even being a Go teacher, I've had students all the time ask me, like, hey, what do you think, what should I work on? Like, what do you think my weaknesses are? Like, I have a really hard time doing that. But he does go back through your games and try to figure out, okay, what are you missing in your games? And again, he tries to rate it to your level. And I'm not sure how he arrived my level at 3 Dan, but that's what he concluded. And maybe that's true. Maybe European 3 Dan is probably not that far off. But anyway, I don't think at any point I told him a level. I think, it just is, or what he decided. And I kind of assume that if he rates you like 5 Dan, then all these graphs just go down, right? Like, or if he rates you 1 Dan, then all these graphs go up. So it's all relative anyway. He's just trying to point out the different parts of your game and where you can have room for improvement. And he gives you a little graph, where do you fit between balanced and calm and, or aggressive and calm, sorry. And I certainly think that, this is probably my play. Like, I'm not really, like, there's a lot of things I'm kind of insane at, like, I just like, but Go is not really one of them. Like, Go is often one of them where I feel, peace with the board, and that comes out in my playing. And a lot of this I kind of already knew, right? This isn't news to me, but it's just kind of interesting to see another person make these same conclusions after just looking through my games, right? My opening, like, okay, top 10 percentile. I'm not even sure if these are percentiles. These probably aren't. These are probably just, fairly subjective scores that he's sort of basing off experience. He thinks I'm good at the end game, which was kind of surprising. I think I script the end game constantly. Maybe that's puts me actually above average at the end game, because I do notice these little point losses here and there, and I care about them. Still not great, still room for improvement, of course. He gives me much higher intuition scores than reading scores, which I would definitely agree with. That's that's me. Like many players, especially I'll say Western players who came to the Go slightly later in life, and by later I mean college essentially, or after college. That tends to be the case. Gave me very low scores in technique here, and I'm still struggling to decide how to improve this, right? Because I think even though my reading is passable, it's not stellar. I don't think this is just about reading, right? This isn't just about doing more Go problems. This is related to, okay, I know I have a general area of the board I want to play in. Let's say in general, he seems to think I'm very good at identifying that, between the opening and intuition. That would seem to suggest that, that's one of my strengths, just knowing approximately where to play. But in terms of finding the exact move, I often get the exact move wrong. And I think that's kind of what he's implying here. Strategy, okay, good. Knowledge, he thinks I know a lot, which I do, mainly because I teach it. Maybe I'm not the best at executing it. And that has a lot to do with the fact that I don't play a lot of games. He rated me having low game experience. And I wonder how much of this he's basing off of like just looking at my online Go accounts versus just what he can actually gather. Like, how do you tell someone has a lot of game experience from their games that they play? And it's true, like, I don't play nearly enough serious Go that I should be, right? There was points in college when I was really learning and improving where I was playing, maybe 2 to 3 medium length games a day, right? There's like a couple month period, especially in the summer when things are quieter, where I was just playing a lot of Go, right? I might play 100 games in a few months time. And that's not the case anymore, right? That is like the most, I can tell you exactly like how many serious Go games I've played so far in 2019, because they were exactly the season 23 Yunguseng Dojang games, right? It was exactly 15 games. I've had 15 serious games of Go in 2019 so far, which is kind of sad. But that's true. Like I think I need to just be, if I want to be better at Go, like one of the things I just need to do is play a lot more games of serious Go, not just like, late at night blitz games or just my 9x9 or 13x13 phone app. Anyway, down here, he gives you a general advice. Actually, before that, right, he says, if I have 100 units of time, right, I should spend 60% of it playing serious games. And I really like for me, that was actually really important to hear, like this knowledge, just reminding me like, oh yeah, I really need to be playing games. That's advice I give my students all the time. You guys, I'm sure have already probably read most of this down here. So you can, if you want to pause the video and read it, you can do that in your own. Really, I'm just showing you like, here's my own Go report. I found it fascinating. I think you guys might as well. So that's another thing you get with joining the Yunguseng Dojang. So anyway, all right, so that's that. Overall, let's get to my page. Let's look at my page. There you go. You can see all your results and your opponents, and it has the game records of all the games too, so you can have them archived forever, I suppose, or at least until, the servers go down. There you go. Anyway, so let's see. From my review, here's the conclusions. Number one, is Yunguseng Dojang a good Go resource? Absolutely fantastic. I saw personal improvement from it in a vacuum without knowing the price or anything else about it. This is fantastic. I personally got a lot out of it. I think there's still some more room to feel like it's more interactive, maybe more regular homework, or have a homework study group. Have some structures in place that you can feel a little bit more part of the community. Even though there is a Discord that everyone belongs to in the Dojang, I feel like that could have been made better use of. Again, it depends on how social you are and how much of a communal aspect you're looking for. I feel like they're only scratching the surface, and I think that can be improved. But given the fact that, for me, settling down into this routine of playing league games and this regular sense of study gave me a sense of structure and a way to actually improve that I would not have otherwise. So, I don't have a good rating system. Should I do thumbs up? I don't know, out of 5, out of 10, whatever it is. I haven't thought about this enough to actually rate it. Anyway, totally worth it. When you factor in the price, I think for most people this is expensive. And I would say if you don't mind spending money on Go, if that is a thing that is a worthwhile investment in your life, I think this is a fair price. Like I think what you get, and at least again the results that I saw in mine, I think this is fair. I think if you are someone who has a lot of interests and doesn't necessarily have the time to dedicate to study and playing a league game, again, and watch a lecture, really you're looking at a minimum of really like a 3-hour commitment a week to do this. And a lot of weeks it's going to be more like 4 or 5 hours of commitment. If you are not on board with that, and you're not gonna, let's say this is more of a fleeting interest for you, I would say this price is not worth it. You will not see $330 of benefit if you don't watch the lectures, if you don't play your league games, if you don't take notes during your reviews. If that's kind of the sad reality. Now, I know for him, the Go School is kind of blown up to the point where he can't really handle a whole lot more new people. So I'm kind of scared just putting this review out there and giving it. And again, my review is positive. Don't let this price or these prices turn you away. This is a good resource, and I want to vouch for that. Like I can't stress it enough. This system, right? He has really is a little bit human intensive, right? He has to do personal Go reports and do reviews for all these different games, as well as all the back end. And I don't think it's not to the point where it's super automated. And there's a lot of work for him. So I don't think he can expand that much further or faster without some changes or bringing some other people on. I think he's working pretty hard at just running this and studying his own Go to keep it in the top tier of what's available. So I'm a little scared to put this review out, like I was saying, because if 100 people watch this video and all decide I need to do this, oh man, his waiting list is going to get so long. And actually, that's I first mentioned, or I misspoke earlier when I said I was going to do it the fall of 2018. That's when I first signed up, but I got put on the waiting list, so I didn't actually get into the league until winter. So if this is something you're interested in, number one, the season 24 league is already started. You can't sign up, but do get yourself on the waiting list as soon as possible. And I don't actually know when registration starts. You could even just email him and say, hey, I want to, get on that waiting list. If this is something you're interested in, I assume he's going to run this for, let's see, April, May, June, take a break during the US Go Congress month for July, maybe August, and then season 25 will start, I don't know, September, October, November, something like this. But again, I don't really know the plan. But if this is something you're interested in, do get on that waiting list and express your interest early, because spots are limited. If you look here, again, there's a whole European, hey, leagues, go to leagues, come on. I want leagues, click link. Website just broke right when I'm finishing up the review. Why does nothing work? All right, well, great. Is this loading forever? Oh, there he goes, okay. This is going really slow. Apparently everyone's on it right now because they're all watching this video. Yeah. If you look, I think it's about 10 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 sections, I think. So about 54 players in the North American one. I think probably about the same in the European one, maybe even a little bit more. So it's about 120 people altogether, I suspect. Again, if you can grow that, fantastic. But again, that might be all the spots there are. So I just want you to be aware of that. So again, this was entirely too long a review. I hope you guys got something out of it. Again, 2 thumbs up for American Yunguseng Dojang. It's just whether or not that price is worth it to you. All right, thanks for watching. If you like videos like this and want me to do other Go products, give me suggestions and let me know in the comments. So thanks.